In this video, we're going to talk about solving our elimination method when we don't already have a zero pair. So sometimes you're not going to be able to add them right away and get rid of one of your variables. In this case, you need to multiply one or both of the equations by a constant, and we're going to talk about how to choose which constant we're going to use. So let's start by writing our steps. If we're using elimination, first we're going to decide which variable to eliminate. Again, we're looking for the variable that we can get the zero pair for. So 3x and negative 3x. In order to create that zero pair, we're going to multiply one or both equations by a constant. Add the equations together, and then substitute that value back in to solve for the other variable. So once I've done step 2, step 3 and 4 is what we've been doing with elimination, the ones that were already set up with that zero pair for us. We're going to look at 2 examples. In the first example, we have 3x plus 8y equals 7, and x minus y equals negative 5. So you can see as we compare 3x and x, not a zero pair, 8y and negative y, not a zero pair. So I can choose to multiply either equations, sometimes both equations, by any constant in order to create a zero pair. So I've got really 2 good options here. The first one, which is not what I'm going to do, so don't write it, I could multiply this second equation by negative 3. That would get rid of the x for me. It would give me 3x and negative 3x. But I don't want to deal with multiplying by a negative. So what I'm going to do instead, and this one you can write because this is the one I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply that entire equation through by 8. What that's going to give me is 8y and negative 8y. So when I multiply my second equation by 8, I get 8x minus 8y. Don't forget the other side. Negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. So I just distributed my 8 to everything. Those 2 equations are equivalent because I multiplied both sides of the equation. My other equation was 3x plus 8y equals 7. And now adding them together, the y is eliminated. 8x plus 3x is 11x. Negative 40 plus 7, signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger. And then I solve that equation. So I get x equals negative 3. It's half my answer. Now, I can plug that answer into either equation to solve for y. Because my second equation has smaller numbers, less to deal with, I'm going to plug it in there. So I'm going to plug negative 3 in for x, because they're equal, and I'm going to solve. So adding 3 to both sides, I get negative y equals negative 2. Signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger. Remember, the negative y means negative 1 times y. So to solve that, I need to divide both sides by negative 1, and I get y equals 2. So my answer here is negative 3, 2. And in my steps, I forgot to leave room for plug in to check, which you should definitely do, but I'll leave you to do that on your own. Let's take a look at the second example. In the second example, notice that we don't have ones where I can just multiply the first one. So I've got negative 3 and 4. I've got 9 and 13. So what you're looking for when you're choosing that zero pair, you're looking for your least common multiple. So when the coefficient on one of them is 1, that's easy. You just multiply that through. But since I have 3 and 4, 9 and 13, this one's not so easy. I'm going to have to multiply both equations. I'm going to deal with the smaller ones, the 3 and the 4. And my lowest common multiple there is 12. So I've got to multiply the first one through by 4, the second one through by 3. They'll already be positive and negative, so I'm okay with that. So I'm going to multiply. So everything gets multiplied by 4. So negative 12x plus 36y equals negative 12. And on the second one, everything gets multiplied by 3. 12x, here's my 0 pair, minus 39y equals 15. When I add them together, my x's are eliminated. And here my signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger. And here my signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger. Solving, I get y equals negative 1. And that's half my answer. So now I need to plug in to find my x. So I'm going to plug in to the first one. Neither one of these is particularly easier than the other one. So I'm going to plug negative 1 in for y. Do my multiplication. And solve. That's essentially 9 minus 3 dividing by negative 3. I get x equals negative 2. So my answer here is negative 2, comma negative 1. And again, I should check, but I'll leave it up to you to do that.